Hey everybody, it is Fun Friday. This is our road to 100 crochet stitches every Friday night. So welcome back for Friday night number 2. And I'm so excited about tonight because this is a stitch that I have been asked to teach for the last 5 to 6 crochet classes. I've had so many messages requesting it. It is such a common stitch. I'm sure a lot of you are going to recognize when I tell you what it is and how excited I am. A lot of you have asked to do an in-person class, which I was waiting to do that, and I still may do that. For those of you that are local and want to come to class and go home with a square, there's your clue. But I feel like it needs to be on the list of 100, and I'm moving it up to number 2 so that we can go ahead and do it tonight. So without any further delay, the second crochet stitch on our 100 crochet stitches to learn is the granny stitch, the granny square. Oh my gosh, granny squares are everywhere. They are so good. This one glitters, by the way. They are so good in bedspreads, quilts, baby blankets. These are always a hit. They are now being used in clothing items. There are granny square cardigans, granny square sweaters, granny square shirts. I actually have a knee-length cardigan, long sleeve, that I made last year. I will put that on and take some pictures and post it. But here she is, the granny square. Ta-da! And we are so excited to teach this. So let's start out with the very beginning of a granny square. You're going to be able to make one from scratch after this. So I'm going to start with gold. Get my yarn here going. We're going to make our slip knot. I am using, again, just mainstay yarn from Walmart. And I'm going to use gold, red, and brown. This needle size is a G, size 6. So there is that if you want to follow along and do it with me at the same time. Medium weight on the yarn, just regular line. So we have our slip knot. We're going to chain 4 and slip stitch into the first chain. So we have a little circle, just like that. Now we're going to chain 3, and then I'm going to double crochet twice into the very center of the circle, not into a V, literally, can you see that? Into the center of my circle. We're not worried about going into the chains, okay? See that? That's in the center, the very center of the circle I made. So we're going to chain or double crochet 2 into the center of the circle. There you go. Chain 1, again, into the center of the circle, not the V's, into the center of the circle, 3 double crochets. Go right in that center of that circle and put 3 double crochets. And there's number 3. Chain 1. This is a brand new ball of yarn, so I have to pull on it a little bit. Again, 3 double crochets back into the center of our circle. 2, 3. I didn't think about my needle being gold and my yarn being gold, so I hope you guys can see this really well. If you can't, message me and I'll do another one on a video in a different color. That's kind of funny. Chain 1 again. And again, 3 double crochets into the center of that circle. I try to always keep that in mind when you guys are watching at home, using a color that you can see really well, which would not be typically white, black, or brown, dark brown. Chain 1 after you do those 3s. Now you're back to the beginning. You're going to slip stitch into the top of that first chain 3 that you made. And there is your first row. Now, if you can see where those chains are, there will be holes. And you can see that you've made a hole in the center. You're going to slip stitch across both of these V's. There should be 2 there from your double crochets at the very beginning. And then you're going to slip stitch into the hole where that chain is. That gets you back over to the start of the beginning of the row. Now, you can change colors here, you cannot change colors here. I'm going to change colors here. I'm not going to go over changing colors typically in this video because we are just learning the granny stitch, but for future reference, I am going to have a video on changing colors so you'll know what to do. For this changing color, I'm just literally going to hold my red yarn right up next to it and just start using it in my pattern. We're going to chain 3 just like we did at the beginning of the other stitch. I'm going to pull my yarn and hold my tails so that I can work them in. We're going to double crochet twice into the hole that we're working in, into the actual hole. See that? Double crochet again into the actual hole that we're working in. And there's your little, they kind of make like this little triangle shell looking pattern. We're going to chain 2 this time instead of 1 and put 3 more double crochets into that same hole that we're working in. Now, my yellow, I'm done with it. I've moved on to red, so I'm going to go ahead and snip that off. Again, I will go over changing yarn colors in a different video so I can show that more elaborately for you guys that don't know how to change colors like that. But for now, since we're learning the granny square, I just want you to get the stitches of the granny square down. So I'm going to keep going on the granny square part, and then I'll post a video about changing colors to the page. So we're putting 3 double crochets into this hole right here. So there's 2, and here is 3. Then we're going to chain 1. Find the next hole, which is over here, where that other chain 1 on the first row was. You're going to put 3 double crochets into that hole. You're working by the power of 3 in a granny stitch. In a typical starting granny stitch, I should say. There are some variations of the granny stitch that you could do different patterns for, but this is the generic granny stitch that everybody wants to learn. Then you're going to chain 2. Then you're going to 3 double crochets in the same hole. You're still working in the same hole. We haven't left that hole, that same chain 1 hole yet. So still putting 3 in the same hole. Chain 1. Now if you'll look where you're chaining 2 and putting them in the same hole like that, your square is starting to form. Where you've chained 1, that's the side of the square, but where you chain 2, that makes your corner. So again, find your next hole where the next chain 1 was, 3 double crochets into that hole. There's your 3. Chain 2 to make your corner. Get some yarn, sorry, camera shake there. 3 double crochets into that same hole. There's your 3. Chain 1, because this is the side. Find your last hole in the square. Chain 3 double crochets into that hole. I decided on this, I was going to use some new skeins of yarn that aren't broken. So my tension is kind of tight from trying to get it to pull out of the yarn skein. So I apologize for that. There's your 3 double crochets, chain 2 because it's a corner, and 3 double crochets into the same space. Chain 1 because that's a side. There you're back at the beginning, so you're going to slip stitch into the top of your chain that you started on. You need to get over to the corner, so you're going to slip stitch into the next 2 V's, the tops of those. The slip stitch again is a stitch that is hidden, doesn't actually make a visible stitch, it just makes another V, so it blends in really well and gets you back to your starting point. Slip stitch into the corner, that gets you back starting, and you can see the granny square is beginning to form. So I'm going to change color on this one for what I'm going to use this example that I'm making here for to brown. So I'm going to switch back over to one that I've already been working on, which is this one. And you can see there is the first row. There's the second row, which is red on this one. So you can see that would go like right there. Then you just repeat every row the same way. In the corners, it's 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Anything that's along the side is a chain 1, 3 double crochet, a chain 1, 3 double crochet to get back to the corner along the side. So this one, since it's got a few more rows on it, I'll show you that real quick. We're at the corner, so we're going to 3 double crochets. Just like that. Chain 2 because we're making a corner. Sorry, the glitter yarn sometimes gets caught on your needle, so you'll want to watch out for that. But it is really pretty. 3 double crochets into the same corner. So there's your corner. Getting ready to work the side. So we're going to chain 1 and then 3 double crochets into that hole. The good thing about once you get off that first row, the holes become very, very noticeable and very easy to find because you've built up enough stitches that they're kind of wider. Chain 1, go to the next hole, 3 double crochet. Chain 1, the next hole's a corner, so it's 3 double crochets, a chain 2, and a 3 double crochet. Two and 3 to build that corner. So there is a completed side. Once you're on, that's going to be row 4 of this square. This square is only going to have 4 for the project that it is actually going to be part of, which I will show you later on in this video here in a few. But there you go, and you can see as it builds. You can change colors as many times as you want. You can make this as big as you want. There's a blanket on the page that I will repost where I made an entire bedspread of a granny square, and I just kept going out, further, till I made a gigantic king-size bedspread. So the granny square is super fun. It's super quick and easy. It's not a yarn eater. It's obviously a yarn stretcher because you have all these holes and you're just doing the double crochet stitch with a lot of chains. So it doesn't take very many skeins to make a granny square very big, very fast. That's for sure. But it's super fun. Everybody seems to enjoy it. Like I said, they're starting to use it on everything out there under the sun. So it's a very versatile stitch. You can, this one's a smaller one, and that's finished. It's going to go on a project just like that. But like I said, you can keep them going. You can keep changing colors. I will show you how to change colors in another video. But let me show you some projects now of the granny square that I have used. Okay, this is 3 baby blankets all done the same way, with the granny square stitch being the middle part and the edging of the blanket. So this is where you could use it just as one big square. This next one are pot holders. They're double-sided. The granny square is actually all one piece, and the whole top of the pot holder is the granny square, where it's just been edged with a solid piece on the back. This is the top of a couch cover and 2 matching pillows. Now here I've separated the granny squares and then just edged them with granny square pattern. So this is a little bit more of an intermediate granny square, but still nonetheless still a granny square. Here's a granny square made into a remote control holder that hangs on my couch, and you've probably seen this in videos. It now hangs on my crochet basket and holds needles and scissors and different things like that. And then the bedspread I was talking about. This is a king-size bedspread. The whole entire blanket is a granny square. I just kept getting bigger. I never did stop the granny square itself. So these are all ways to use the granny square in projects. So that ends Fun Friday for our second stitch that we've learned, the granny square. Those gives you some project ideas on how to use it, teaches you hopefully how to make one, and shows you that there's a lot of different options. It's a very versatile stitch. So I hope you guys enjoy the granny square. Again, comment, like, share this out with friends. I hope this helps you with any questions you have about how to do this granny square. And send us any projects or pictures that you make with the granny square. We'd love to see what you guys come up with. So I hope you guys have a good weekend, and we will see you back next time on Friday night to next week at 9 p.m. for the next stitch on our road to 100.